Okay. Good evening and welcome to the March 10th, 2016 meeting of the Newmarket Conservation Commission. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7:02 and I'd like to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sue, could you please do the roll call?
Certainly. Jeff Goldman.
Present.
Ricky Faber.
Present.
Andrea Sellers.
Present.
Marianne Hannigan.
Present.
Bruce Fecto.
Present.
Amy Byrne.
Present.
Ezra Temko.
Present.
Patrick Reynolds.
Present.
Bob Gaston.
Here.
Julia Sinclair.
Here.
Thank you, Sue. Good job. And Fred Pearson called to let me know that he'd be excused this evening from the meeting. And before we begin, Drew would like to make a short statement.
Sure. As many of you know, Chris Schottmeyer passed away on February 27th, and conservation lost an advocate and a promoter with his passing. Chris's career was based on conservation. He served our country working for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. He served our state working in the New Hampshire Fish and Game Department. And he served our community as a member of the Conservation Commission, Newmarket Conservation Commission, and serving as chair. He was also a co-founder of the Newmarket Fishing Derby, an event that brings our community together and also promotes exposure and interactions with the natural world. Please join me in a moment of silence in tribute to Chris Schottmeyer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Drew. And we have several visitors this evening, so as we typically do, I'd like to, unless there's any other objections, I'd like to move our visitors to the head of the meeting, if that's okay with everyone. And if our other visitors don't mind, one visitor in particular may be of interest to everyone that is here, and that is our Richard Shelton. So if you would like to, sir, you feel free to go first this evening.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. For those that don't know me, and for the record, my name is Richard Shelton, who in the past had served on the Conservation Commission for many years as a member, chairman, and as vice chairman later years under the leadership of then Chris Schottmeyer. Before I speak on why we are here, Dennis Abbott, who represented our district in Concord for many years, has a few words to share reflecting on the accomplishments of Chris, and I'd like to invite Dennis up.
Thank you, Richard. Good evening, members of the Conservation Commission. Mr. Chairman, surprised, not surprised, but pleased to see so many people involved in conservation here in Newmarket. It's amazing to see, there's 10 of you or so? For the record, my name is Dennis Abbott. I'm a lifelong resident of Newmarket. Probably close to the only person that has lived in Newmarket longer than me is probably Richie, but there are some, but I've been here over 75 years now and been involved in a number of things. Mostly I was a state legislator for 14 years, and in that capacity as a legislator, I came to know Chris Schottmeyer. I knew Chris Schottmeyer before I was in the legislature. And interestingly, Chris Schottmeyer and I, we weren't of the same political party, but Chris would always allow me to put a sign on his front yard, and he supported me as being a state representative because he knew that, like him, my interest in natural resources matched his. So it was not uncommon for Chris to call me up about issues because Chris was, as those of you who knew him, those of you that didn't know him, should know that he was a busy guy. He was what commonly was called in the vernacular a fish cop. He worked for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, as Drew said. And Drew took away a lot of my thunder, things that I would have said about Chris, and I may repeat. But he was always on a case. My wife served on the Conservation Commission with him many years ago, and I don't know how many years he served, but it was a goodly number of years that Chris served. And there were times I remember my wife coming down here to the town hall and come home and say, geez, Chris didn't show up till 7:15, 7:30. He was on a hot case. You know, there was always something going on in his, field of work. I didn't follow Chris's activities on a day-to-day basis, but I know that he was always out looking to do a good deed for someone, for something, and a lot for the town of Newmarket. He did a lot for the town of Newmarket, as Drew said, organized and involved in the fishing derby over the years. Also out of town, Chris, he was involved in the Wentworth by the Sea fishing, striped bass fishing tournament, where he judged that and participated in organizing it. And later on, that striped bass tournament became a kids event. Instead of being for adults, it was for kids. And the first year that they made it for kids, Chris shows up and he's got a whole bunch of badges and he deputizes all the young fishermen for the day. And there were some that were 7 or 8 when he first did that and came back years later. We're talking about being deputized as a special warden. Another thing that Chris did, for me, was, again, I was in the legislature and he never failed to invite me to the fishing derby to help with the awarding of awards, prizes after the fishing derby was over. He never failed to do that. And he didn't know, I won't say he didn't fail to do it, but oftentimes he'd call me with an issue that he had going on in town and would be looking for advice or whatever. Some of the things that he did that I don't know if you're aware of, I know there was a acquisition of the Tuttle Swamp property. He was quite instrumental in the town acquiring that, and more significantly, he was very instrumental in the acquisition of the Heron Point property that was donated by Mr. Klein. I don't remember.
Yeah.
What's Klein?
Klein.
Mark Klein. So Chris always had the town on his mind, and it's our hope tonight that we can do something for Chris that will make him known for posterity. Just like we have Richard Shanda's name on the pocket park down behind the community church, it would be nice if we could do something similarly with a piece of property that could become the Chris Schottmeyer whatever. And I think that would be fair recognition for what he's done for the town. And I hope that you'd join us with the proposal that Richie's probably going to be giving you in a couple of minutes. But again, I'm here tonight because Chris was a good man, and he was good for the town of Newmarket. He was good for the Conservation Commission. He was good for the young kids in town. And we're very sorry that we lost Chris. Thank you.
Now, to continue on, this past Sunday, I received a phone call from an individual who stated that in speaking to my daughter Val, she said to call my dad at 659-2000, my number, and he would handle this very important project. This person stated that we should honor Chris Schottmeyer by securing a parcel of land and dedicate it in his name. My question was, how would we be able to accomplish this? And the reply, I will put up an upfront check in the amount of $50,000 to get the project going. And if the town raises $50,000, I will match that amount with another $150,000, which will be $150,000. I have in place already a partial volunteer committee to look into land acquisition and raising the additional money for the gift match if the Conservation Commission wishes to move forward. I don't know how much of that amount we will be able to raise, but I would think a substantial amount. Otherwise, the commission will need to help to meet the $50,000 we need to raise. I've got a committee committed so far with myself, Dennis Abbott, my daughter Val Shelton, Ellen Snyder, Jim Hilton, Rich Height, and I would need a member from the Conservation Commission on that board, and maybe 1 or 2 more. I don't want any more than 9 people on the fundraising for this. If there's too many, you just can't control it. But we need your approval to go ahead with it, and if you want to go ahead, I will continue with my research and getting the paperwork done. We will submit plenty of letters for donations towards this worthy project, but what we need is your insight to help us out with it. Without it, we can't do it, because you're gonna have to manage this property once we bought it. My daughter's already looked at a piece, for your information. So, anyway.
Where's the piece located?
Well, that remains to be seen.
Oh, okay,
Ellen Schneider says it's super, so what else can you say?
okay.
Are you thinking like a park?
A
Like-
piece of land.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
like-
well, a conservation land, where you put a sign up and say this land is under conservation, just not as big as the Loisel property, obviously, and the property up on Grant Road, but a nice piece of land. But we need your permission to go ahead, because we'd buy it and own it outright. And if you can put the package together. So it's in your court now, and all you gotta do is let me know if you wanna proceed, and if you accept the proposal, and we will strive to get it going. I can probably have a check issued for your next meeting, if you so approve. At this point, the donor wishes to remain anonymous, and at some point, obviously, we'll divulge who it is, okay? And that's all I got to say. What's that?
Why is it such a secret?
He just
Because they'd
doesn't
like
want
to
his
remain
name mentioned.
anonymous.
Is that reasonable enough? Long as the money's there, what do you care where it comes from?
A lot of people
Why
like
the
to
big
make
secret?
anonymous.
Yeah, and he may not even want to have his name brought up. We may come with a cashier's check made out for $50,000. That I don't know. He didn't say he wanted, he just says, I don't want my name brought before the board at this point.
Sounds reasonable to me.
Fair enough.
That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Evidently, he's got enough money to fund $100,000 that he's wishing to donate. And it's up to you people now, and so then you'll have to discuss that and let us know how you want us to proceed. Either we'll strive ahead, or we'll just pass it along. Okay?
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for your
very
time.
much.
Okay, thank you.
It's a great idea. I would back it 100%.
I would as well.
Chris was quite a big part of this commission for quite a while, so I think it'd be a good thing to do and proper.
So we probably need a motion.
Yeah. Would it be a motion to create? Yeah, go.
So
Well,
I think it would be a motion to support the pursuit of acquisition of a piece of property to be dedicated in Chris Shopmeyer's name
Yeah, and under the management of the Conservation Commission.
and under the management of the Conservation Commission. So you got that for us, Sue?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
We don't have to have a dollar amount attached to that yet?
At this point, it's just the pursuit, so I would say
Right.
no.
Okay.
So it's kind of at this point, it would be to create and become part of a committee to
Right.
explore and
Raising-
pursue it.
And
Right.
if we don't raise a dime, which is highly improbable, you'd have to
Right.
fund the whole 50,000, but I don't see that.
Right, right,
The more
or
I
any
think we
remainder,
raise, The less we look to the
I
Conservation
see.
Commission
Okay.
for the
Yeah.
balance.
yeah, or any balance
Who knows how much
thereafter.
we can raise? I never raised that much money in my life. I've raised thousands and thousands of dollars over 20 years for the fishing derby. And I did all
You
the
may be
fundraising.
surprised and raise quite a bit.
So, is there any further discussion amongst the board as to whether or not we should pursue this? Hearing none.
Do we
I'll-
have a second?
Yes,
Bruce.
Bruce seconds.
Thank you.
Yes. So, hearing none, I'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Did you appoint anybody
I didn't appoint anyone.
as an alternate?
Do you need
Oh,
one?
no, I can't appoint one in Fred's absence.
Yeah.
I believe Bob's been on the commission the longest as an alternate, so I'll like to appoint Bob Gauze as a voting member this evening.
I would have a minor question. The Conservation Commission, do they have a balance of amount of money in the conservation? I'm sure you do. You must have probably a sizable amount for these purposes.
Yes, our conservation fund,
Yeah.
which is just cash that we can expend for this, has,
Hopefully,
right.
usage of some of that money.
I think we're slightly in excess of $200,000 at the moment in our conservation
I
fund.
don't think Richie or myself, I don't even know what property he's talking about. He hasn't disclosed that to me either. But we don't even know, I don't think what the final asking price would be from the property owner, do we?
No, but my daughter says that we would be in that range of $150,000, but it's concrete at this point.
Right.
We just have to see, and we're not 100% sure that this piece of land will come to fruition, but it may.
Right, understood completely. Yeah, at this point, it's kind of,
That's her business.
right,
She owns a real estate company.
right. And at this point, the idea is there,
The idea
the
is to
interest
get
is
the ball
there,
rolling
and now it's just to
see what we
move
can do.
forward.
Richie, that you've spoken to Chris's wife.
Oh, yeah, and I did go visit Terry and
Chris's
told,
wife.
Chris Shopmeyer's wife, and told her what I would be doing at your next meeting, and she thinks, she couldn't believe it, obviously.
Excellent.
Couldn't believe the interest that was taken in Chris's past work with the town, but obviously I said, well, just sort of keep it under your hat till I approach the Conservation Commission, because if they turn it down, then that'll be the end of it. If you accept it, which I think you already did, then we will forge ahead and see what we can do.
Yes,
Not
definitely.
to beat a dead horse by any means. Having lived in Newmarket all my life, I attend a lot of wakes and funerals here in town, because all the old residents pass away. But anyway, Chris passed away last week, and I don't know, some of you may have been there or not, but it was probably the largest wake that I've ever been to in the town of Newmarket. And when it takes you an hour and a half or more to go through the line to pay your condolences, it showed, what Chris meant to a lot of people. I didn't mention, is even though I'm not a legislator, I still participate in a fisheries commission of states from Maine to Florida, and had a lot of dealings with Chris, because he was part of the law enforcement committee representing the federal government at the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission. And there were a lot of people from a lot of states there that I had seen in the past, or, many agencies throughout New England and federal people. Yeah.
Excellent. I just want to, should we rerun that vote to make sure Sue gets it right?
Yes.
Yeah, because you didn't actually.
Yeah,
vote.
yeah. So, all those in favor? Aye.
So there are 7. And 7. 7-0-0.
Opposed? Yeah, because there's only 7 of us, so. Excellent. So do we want to, yeah, that's what I was up to next. So the next thing to be would to see if there is at least one person, and possibly, I'd say just 2 for now, I would assume. We would want to try to appoint to the committee that you've already formed. So would you be looking for someone to, so would you
Somebody from
would-
the commission to be on our board,
right,
fundraising.
and you got,
I think it should be to keep you people abreast of what's going on,
I-
and also put his input in, or hers, whatever.
and someone that you've already appointed or yourself would run that board though, right? Are you looking for someone on the commission to be like the?
For one of you people to serve with the board,
Yeah.
along with myself and Dennis and my daughter Val and
Sorry.
Ellen
Yeah,
Snyder,
okay.
Jim
Just
Hilton
leave it
and
on.
Rich Height.
Okay. Aye.
And that's all. Like I said, I don't want 9 would be the maximum people I would
Right.
want on the board. Once you get that, you can never get people together to organize anything.
Right.
Everybody's going all different ways.
Excellent.
Do
So
you have scheduled meeting times?
I think they just put it
Not
together.
anything yet.
Okay.
Not yet, yeah.
People can be available.
That's in the future.
Okay.
Yes.
Me and Dennis are available 24 hours a day. Not everybody.
I'm missing the Florida.
So, so is there someone with express interest that would like to be on this board?
I would like to be on the board, but as a citizen, not as a conservation, because my time is up next month,
Okay.
and I will not be coming back, so. But I expressed a lot of interest. I've worked with Chris on the fishing derby a few times and in other projects, so I would be honored if I could be part of that.
You just have to
There-
be up for the conservation.
I would be happy to if nobody else wants to. I did know Chris.
Are you interested, Jim?
No, I'm maxed out.
It's my understanding that Fred may not rejoin the commission. Yes.
I can see him in a long time.
I personally did not know Chris, but I mean, I'd be interested in helping out where I could. Definitely.
That'd be great.
So. I think it's a fabulous idea.
Yeah.
It's
great.
Honor people that have been a major part of a community. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a worthy endeavor.
Good luck.
So, do you want to name somebody, or?
So we'll appoint Mary Ann Hannigan, and Jeff Goldnoff.
And
We don't need to.
Richard, if I could speak with you later on, maybe?
We don't need to vote to appoint to the committee,
No.
right? Excellent. Thank.
Just give me your email addresses too, so I can have them.
Okay.
Can I have a sheet of paper, Bruce?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Thanks, Sue.
Hang on.
Faster.
So, thank you very much for coming and speaking.
Yeah, thanks for your support.
Yeah.
Yes, you're welcome.
And I know we won't fail you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you for your efforts.
Yes, thank you for
Yeah,
your efforts.
thanks.
It's greatly appreciated. Have a good evening.
Nice meeting.
We'll be in touch.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll talk with you later, Bruce.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, I'll move on to the next item that we had under new business, old and new business, which, the next scheduled item was the, discussion of the Piscasset-Loisel, Park and the Shanda Park kiosk replacements. And I believe Kevin Martin is here, and, Preston Samuel of LRAC is also here. So, I know that you guys are working together, so, on at least the Shanda Park, kiosk. So whoever would like to speak first, feel free.
I'll go up, so have at it.
So Kevin is who I've been speaking to about building the kiosks, and as everyone knows, sorry, I ran into. Thank you very much for getting the pricing to me. I had some issues come up at home, and I did not get them circulated to the members. But thank you for getting it to me ahead of time. Sorry, we have. We're good. Okay. I had 10 out there.
Here's another one.
We need one.
And like as we spoke about at our last meeting, Kevin's built several, or at least one for LRAC before, and comes highly recommended, and excellent. So.
Yeah, I've built 3 of them total along the Lamprey River. I did a couple in Epping, volunteered my services at that time to do them. I was on the Conservation Commission there and in the Lamprey River Committee for quite a while. And I'm a woodworker, boat builder, and pretty familiar with how to do them, and it worked out good, and a lot of people. I don't know if you've seen the one on 87 Bridge there, on town land there, but it's been there for about 10 years now and it's holding up quite well. In fact, the big floods we had was right up against it and was pushing it back, but afterwards we straightened it out and everything was fine. So they're pretty strong and should serve the purpose that you need, and I'm mainly here to answer any questions and maybe find out a few things myself. I guess about whether you have a sign planned or already have a sign to go on them and things like that.
I know we have a sign for the one down at Shanda Park, which has been recovered and I guess is still in usable condition. And at Piscassic Loisel, we have we don't really have a sign. I think we haven't really discussed the actual what would be on it, but I know previously there was a frame. Actually, no, there was no frame and plexiglass on that one, was there? No, it was just a board.
Shanda Park there is.
Yeah.
Was there a map?
There was a
A
map.
poster under glass or something?
It was just it was laminated.
What's on
but
that one
yeah.
is not well defined.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
want you to be under the understanding that I won't be doing the sign graphics
Yeah.
or anything like that. So.
Yeah, that's definitely understood. Yes, and so I think what we would want to do tonight, and Kevin has said that you'd be able to probably accommodate the schedule, trying to get them constructed in April, or in the ground by the end of April or early May.
Yeah, timing, I'm a little busy this time of year, but if we start it, I can get going on it, and I'll do 2 or 3 sessions of making the posts and then putting the roof up and the backing and then the trim work and whatever. So, you should be able to get it done the next couple of months without any problem. Sooner we start, the better, though.
Yeah, in my understanding, I spoke with the Director of Public Works the other day, and he said that, so if it works better for you to work during the week, that they would actually help dig
Yeah.
holes. If
Sure, that would be great, yeah.
if need
I
be.
can do either way during the week or weekends. During the week is, fine if people can come over to help, but if weekends are better, then I can plan that too. I have 8 grandkids, so some weekends are kind of tied up. But
Yeah. And as far as pricing goes, I think that we would just want to appropriate more than this amount and just say, appropriate up to. So
We want to do 2 of them, right?
yes, but Lamprey River Advisory Committee it's my understanding that you guys are going to fund. Are you going to fund the Shanda Park one 100%?
We're willing to fund it up to 100%.
Oh, can you step to the mic and just introduce yourself? I know we all know you, but folks at home.
My name is Preston Samuel, and I represent the Lamprey River Advisory Committee. I'm sitting in for Dick Lord tonight, who is the project manager for this action. Yes, we have made a proposal to fund this as long as the cost is reasonable. We can work either way. Either you can contract with Kevin and we can approve your contract, or the other way around, we can do it and you can approve it. So it works either way. We're just interested in making sure that whatever goes in now is rugged, dependable, not subject to damage by bad people and whatnot. Kevin did one for us in Lee recently for a canoe access, and believe me, it's rugged and it ain't coming out. And so we like to see something along that line in the future, substantial piece of wood going into the ground. That's it. Whatever you direct tonight, I'll be taking back to Dick Lord, who will work it up into a proposal. And we hope to do this in the very near future. Our group is at the end of a 5-year contract with the National Park Service, and we have a substantial amount of money, but it must be encumbered by the beginning of September. So we're anxious to work. We hate having money on our hands.
Yeah. Like I said, our hope is to have them in the spring. So
Very good.
The posts that go into the ground, type of wood that you normally use?
Yeah, I've done it 3 different ways actually with each of the kiosks. The first one I built at the 87 bridge, I used locust for the posts. That's a preferable wood to me to use. It lasts a long time, looks nice, and is strong. It's been in the ground 10 years now. I went down last week and shook it and looked at it and dug in a little bit, and it's in good shape. Supposedly it's supposed to last 25 years or better, untreated, just in the ground. And then we did the Mary Blair posts were pressure treated. They have a 40-year lifespan in contact with the soil. We did that 4 or 5 years ago, and it's fine still. It should last quite a while longer. And the canoe launch was 8x8 cedar, which we had to make bigger because the cedar's not quite as good as the other woods in the ground, and it it's a little softer and may rot a little quicker, but
So the price you have here, is that considering using locusts?
It's either way. Locust is pretty hard to find is the problem. I would like to use locust, but when I start searching for it, it's just a matter of if some small sawmill somewhere has it to cut, and most of them don't.
Well, I think the two that fell in were pine, probably just a white pine.
Pine would be
And
a poor choice for posting.
Right, and I think they lasted less than 10 years.
Yeah, I'm sure they did, yeah.
So if we're gonna spend that kind of money, I think it'd be wise to use something that'll last 20 years.
Yeah. There was talk of concrete in the ground, and that would work. It's a little more work, pouring the concrete and sonotubes, a little more cost and things like that. And I'm a little concerned with, I haven't done that, and they have these brackets that you sink in the concrete and then you bolt them to the post. And these would be a little bit top heavy with a roof on top, and I'm a little bit worried about how well them brackets would hold. And the brackets I've seen are pretty cheap brackets that didn't look like they would hold well. I've seen some online that you can order for like $100 a piece and things like that, and they still only went up about this far, and I wasn't happy with what I saw anyways. And I could possibly make something, but that's a bit involved. I think the posts in the ground would be strong, and I can understand your concern with the other ones rotting out fast, but that's just because they were pine. That wouldn't be an issue with the other woods.
Would you pressure treat it regardless of what wood it goes in there?
Pressure treated yellow pine or Douglas fir. I'm pretty sure most of it's yellow pine that you'd get around here.
I mean, the post now, I'm talking about the post. We're not going to use pine for the post, I assume, right?
Pressure treated pine. This is yellow pine, southern yellow pine. It's a lot different than your white pine up here.
But it would be pressure treated?
Yeah, it's treated with a copper preservative like that's driven into the wood by pressure, I guess, and it it gets right into the heart of the wood basically, and it.
So the whole length of the post, the whole length of the timber would be pressure treated?
Yeah.
Not just the part that's in the ground?
The whole thing, yeah.
Yeah.
On the Mary Blair kiosk, I used pressure treated for the roof framing and pretty much everything except for the trim that you see more. And that could be done on these. On the 87 one, I just used rough pine for the above ground, everything above ground. And that's still holding out good. It weathers a little more, though. Over time, pressure treated would last a little bit better, even for the roof and everything.
Does it splinter much?
Not so much. The yellow pine, not more than other stuff,
I think a natural rot-resistant wood is preferable over pressure-treated just because of the chemicals and being conservation property.
Yeah, and that's been a concern with other kiosks that I've done. And the pressure-treated now, in the past, it was an issue with it. Now they treat it with a more friendly type of product, whatever they use. I think it's copper driven in. So, it isn't like it used to be. Pressure treated has a bad name because it used to, leach into the soil and be an issue. But apparently now it's environmentally friendly from what I've read from the guys who make it anyways. I would love to use locust, and that'd be ideal, but I've been searching for it off
Oh
and
my
on.
God, I got some locust trees in my yard you can cut
Well-
down.
My uncle got a sawmill.
Well, there we go.
We're set.
Things like that work, you know, it's,
Is that the same as ironwood?
No.
no, locust is, actually, they grew it around farms just to use for fence posts. So a lot of your farms will have locust
Yeah, we
growing.
have fence posts. I cut them down, cleared a little bit of our property and just set it on the ground to make edging for the garden, and it hasn't, I mean, other stuff has rotted, but it,
Right,
I
oh.
expect it never to rot.
Yeah, oh, it lasts. But it's considered a weed tree up here. They don't promote growing it, and it doesn't really grow well in the wild. It's more of around farms and urban areas.
I don't believe it's that native to the area. But they
It's
brought
more
it-
of a southern tree, yeah.
They brought it up from like Long Island, I thought, or something like that, or in Point South. A long time ago.
It's got a nice flower, nice smelling flower.
So,
But
sorry,
I'm-
go ahead.
Well, on another issue, I think it'd be wise if we did one contract with him for both of them and let LRAC
Reimburse.
reimburse us to make it less paperwork for Kevin. And then it's not like two people telling him what to do. To me,
Right.
being in business, I would, if I was
Sounds
doing it,
weird.
I would rather do it that way. I don't know if Kevin has a preference.
I'm open to whatever works for your commission. Doesn't matter too much to me, but
That's
Just a thought.
That would work. I was informed by the town administrator that we don't have the cap that I was told that we have for contracting. So I was told that I could contract up to 5,000 without RFP. Even,
I think
yeah.
we're well within that.
Yes. So
Oh.
so I think it would
So
be
we have
well
to-
within it. Yes. So so that changed over since the last month actually.
And that way, if LRAC runs into a problem with their funding, our project was sure to get finished.
Right.
Right.
And then LRAC can make a gift to the conservation if they'd like, if that's good with Preston.
I couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry. I was just mentioning that as a business person, I would rather have one contract
I
to
got
do
that
the both
part.
projects.
Yep.
Just thinking there's less paperwork, less people, and then LRAC could turn around and make a donation to the town to
Yep.
cover the cost of one, if that's good with LRAC.
We just ask that you give us that number before you commit us.
No
Well,
more
it
than
looks like,
1,500, I
And
guess.
hopefully it's a lot
if
less.
we were to do
Yes, I think that's right.
up to $3,500, half would be $1,750.
Okay.
And it may come in less than that,
Mhm.
if that's acceptable to you and LRAC.
What I'd suggest is that you get a per unit cost from Kevin, and then give us that lump sum cost, and we can run it through our committee fairly quickly and get you an approval.
I think we can just give him this, right?
Is that
Does
fair?
that mean
Is that
if
fair?
it's
Yeah,
200
is
or
this a
something
lump
more,
sum?
that's fine.
that's what we're looking at.
And
Yeah.
that's, again, where it comes in handy.
Oh, I
to
see.
Say,
So
it's-
wasn't it
we
1,500
could do a
apiece?
$3,500 motion.
So I'll make a motion to expend up to $3,500 for the construction of 2 kiosks, one at Shanda Park and one at the Piscassic River Loiselle parking area.
Second.
Any further
Com-
discussion? Oops, sorry.
Construction of the kiosks to be completed by Mr. Kevin Martin.
Okay, now-
And should we put a timetable? He said the 1st of April.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
All contracts should have a timetable.
If you have a time in mind,
If we said the end of April, that would give him a 4 weeks leeway.
I think that what we had discussed was possibly that it might take into early May, depending on what you have going
we
on,
can-
so.
Done this year.
we're in the middle of March now, so, yeah, if I, depends on when we get started, but, if we can start pretty soon, it should work out. But depends on the volunteers. If you get some volunteers and they can't meet one week and I gotta wait a week or two, I
Which is
just
why I
thought it'd be
prefer not
good.
to have any dates associated with it.
Right, I'd be good to have a little leeway there. But
Yeah,
it'll
we're just
be,
expending the funds, right? That's what we're gonna vote on.
Yeah.
you wanna say the end of April, the end of,
End of May.
May, I
End of
mean,
May.
that's fine, but I'll try to get it done by the end of April, so.
I think that's fair. I have no objection to that. With
So first, I think we need to, like Drew said, a vote on the money issue, right?
Mhm.
Sure. But, yeah.
yes.
If we're gonna add a date, let's add a date to the motion.
Right.
Do we wanna add a date?
Well, I believe in adding a finish date. Even
Yeah, I'd
if
like
we
to amend
say-
my motion to add to be completed by June 30th, 2016.
Do we have to second your amendment?
I don't
I'll
think it ever
second it
seconded.
again. whatever.
Just in case. Okay, I'm gonna call for a vote now, if everyone's happy with that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Now, one other comment, I just want to make sure everyone's aware that I'm counting on some volunteer hours, some from your committee maybe, but I'm sure there's Dick Lord and maybe Preston here would
We'll do it.
volunteer. So,
You had mentioned 17 hours.
that's what I'm hoping for volunteer hours. I'd like to get some hours in myself and, earn some money off of this, so, I counted 20 hours for me and 17 volunteer hours.
Sure, absolutely.
Yes, definitely. So if you'll, I don't know how you're gonna work the timing with all of that, so I don't know if you're gonna get materials and then contact us about a, possible date for volunteers to help, if we could help in shop work at all. And
Yeah.
then site work, so.
I'll probably do the posts first, and I'll get the posts, and I'll probably notch them out and get them ready at my shop, and then, of course, I'll look at the sites and all that first too, and then contact people to go in when the posts are ready to go in the ground, and we'll, if we can get someone from town to dig the holes, that's great, and we'll stand the posts up and then start putting some of the framework on, then come back again and finish the roof shingles and the backing and things like that.
Okay, so you build them mostly on site then?
Yeah, it's
For the most
mostly
part,
built
yeah.
on site, yeah.
Okay, excellent. And so, just so you know, I think people would prefer the locust.
I'll do my best for the locusts, yeah. If there's some trees that gotta be cut somewhere, that might
Oh,
work
we
out.
got a great big one.
I haven't seen any, if you see any on the side of Grant Road, where they seem to be cutting every single
I
tree.
know.
I know, my neighborhood is really going
So-
crazy.
So maybe we should tag it for the Conservation Commission. So, excellent. Thank you very much for coming this
Okay,
evening.
thank you.
Preston, I just have one question for you. You said that your group is looking at projects. It sounds like maybe we do have one other sign that's where our boat landing is on the Pecassac River. I don't know if that sign's in good shape or not. Would you guys look at that sign and see if it was because it sort of falls into the Lamprey River corridor, right? That your group is looking at. I mean, I think it's in pretty good shape, but I was thinking if it wasn't, and your group was looking to replace another sign, that sign, I don't know. There's a lot of people that use that area, so I just don't know if it gets worn down by people's activities around there or anything like that. But
I'll tell you, I've been out there recently and seen the kiosk. I think it's in pretty
Okay.
decent shape. It isn't leaning or anything. What's amazing about that area is that there are other supplementary signs on steel posts in the area, while the kiosk itself is almost empty. And just for visual aesthetics, it would be nice if you could kind of clean that site up and maybe bring the signs together in the kiosk.
Are you talking about Twin Rivers?
yeah.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
That's probably a town thing that they stuck those signs like that.
There are a number of signs. One is, no withdrawal of water from the river, and I forget the second one. Might
be
have
about-
something to do with dogs or whatever.
That might be
But
using
it's
that
just
area.
been, one after the other over the years, and now this line of signs, and when you look at the kiosk, there's nothing in it.
That's a good point.
There's a map in there, though, I thought,
Right,
of
there
the
is.
river.
There might be a, yeah,
Yeah, and some notes about restrictions on the river, wake zone and such, I think, but, yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know. Just thought if you guys are looking, that's an area that,
yeah.
we use a lot here in Newmarket, so.
I'll drop by in the next several days and look at it, but as I remember, it's
Okay.
in decent shape for now. I would just say, Kevin just handed me this proposal. I didn't realize, I saw it earlier and didn't realize that at the bottom of the page, he has given you a lump sum proposal of $1,528 per kiosk. If that's your price for the Shonda kiosk, I can tell you tonight, we'll get it to you.
Okay,
Okay.
excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent, yeah,
Accepted?
thank you very much.
Thanks, thank you.
Okay, I'll report back and we'll make sure you get a check.
Okay, and I'll forward the email too, so that you have the document digitally if you'd like it.
Excellent.
And did you have a few other things you wanted to update
I have
us
some
on
other
this
business if you have time.
Well, I think one of, we said there was going to be a runover, possibly be a runover over the 1,500, right? So we said something like 3,500
Yeah, for two.
for two.
Yeah.
Two.
We'll cover the difference, I think, was the consensus, yeah?
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
Oh, do you want to go half of 3,500?
I mean, it's kind of dependent on the hours, right? It's not a fixed lump sum price yet, so maybe you could appropriate after, you have to appropriate before they're done, is what you're saying, because you might lose the funds. But we should be done by September. I mean, if you wanted to say 1,500 is fine, or if you want to split it, if you guys have the money to split the 3,500, that's fine. If you want to appropriate that now, sure.
I'll give you the half of the 3,500.
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay.
Excellent, thank you
Thanks
very much.
nice.
Great. Time for the other business?
Sure.
Sure, I think.
Okay. I have two items to talk about. The first one is the Lamprey River footpath. As you know, our group completed a feasibility study for a footpath in the Lamprey River corridor through the 4 wild and scenic towns. It would be a 23-mile footpath and would connect with major trails that already exist in the area, such as the Rockingham Recreational Trail, the Sweet Trail, and others. We've been looking at various portions of the trail in each one of the towns and talking with various people. And one of the things that we've learned in Newmarket, of course, in Newmarket, it would be an urban trail. Portions of it would be on sidewalks right through the center of town. Kind of unique in this area, although other countries, for instance, England, it's very common to see trails that come through urbanized areas. At a recent meeting at UNH, I bumped into Diane Hardy, your planner, and we had a discussion about sidewalks in Newmarket. She was saying that she routinely prepares proposals for sidewalk expansion in Newmarket. And I said, well, you know, I know that it's kind of nice to work on the arterial roadway systems in a town as you expand your sidewalk system. You know, that's where the greatest safety problems are because there's a lot of vehicular traffic. And know that Bay Road doesn't have any sidewalks on it. And I'm curious, would it be possible, Diane, to get a sidewalk in on Bay Road from Main Street out to the mobile home park where you go into Heron Point? Because that would make it a safe walk from the downtown area for anyone that lives in the area to get over to your park, which doesn't see as much use as perhaps it could. While we were talking about that, I said, you know, there's another one. I noticed out on Packers Falls Road that in the last several years you've expanded the sidewalk in phases. and it's now out to the water treatment plant. Would you consider going even further, all the way to the town line? Because if we were ever to be able to convince the Nature Conservancy to have this footpath across their property, having that ability to get, again, from the urbanized area to the Nature Conservancy property by way of the several rights of ways that they have from Packers Falls Road into the property, having that as a safe walking pathway would be ideal. You know, we're just suggesting that in the long term, these things could be of benefit to Newmarket because it would open up recreational opportunities. The National Park Service is very interested in promoting this idea of urbanites having easy access to open spaces. And so it falls into our plan. There is additional money coming out of the National Park Service in the next several years for grants. And we're hopeful that we can work some of that grant money over towards the Lamprey River. So my thought is, would you please consider that? And if you find any value in those two sidewalk proposals, would you please talk with your planner and see if you can get things working along?
Have you approached Durham at all about sidewalk from town? Because
No.
is there first access at the little cemetery up the road there, kind of right by
There's
next to
two
that?
subdivisions before you get to the cemetery, and each one of them on the tax maps shows a finger of right-of-way coming through.
Okay.
I've looked at them in the field, and obviously neither one is being used on a regular basis, but I suspect that those
They do go into this.
those still exist.
Yeah.
And if we could get through one of those, great. There could be some resistance because, you know, they're residential areas. There's going to be some resistance. We'll have to work with that. But at the very last resort would be the cemetery that you're talking about across from the riding stable.
Right. Yeah, that's the access I always think of.
Yeah. I love it. I walk down Bay Road to get to Heron Point with my kids, and it's treacherous. And I have friends in that neighborhood, sort of across, and it's treacherous up the hill. Yeah, I don't like it, but
Yeah.
I mean.
There's one gal that I see who must rent just inside Durham, one of the homes along there. I don't know if she's a college student or what, but I see her walking to the bus stop quite often. And in the middle of the winter with the snowbanks and you know, water in the road and everything else, and sometimes at night with no lighting.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a dangerous place to walk.
Yeah, it was nice when they put that sidewalk in front of the cemetery, completed the loop.
Yep.
And Newmarket is, I feel like, a heavy pedestrian town. There's always people walking.
Yep.
I noticed more so than other towns of the same size.
Is it full public access across the bridge by the dam and then through the parking area at the I don't know what they call it, the mills on the east side of the river? Because you know,
Oh,
if
the
you go
Bay
if you go
Road.
between them, yeah, for the Bay
Road
for
mill.
the Bay Road access.
Bryant Rock.
Yeah, because if you go down right by the Chimberg office and cross the footbridge, and then you go through Bryant Rock, you get at least to the bottom of the hill that leads up to the
Is that open
to the
to
trailer
public
park.
use?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
That's
if that's
the way I go,
If
but
that's
I-
a public.
That's the path my family walks to.
Yeah.
As long as we stay on the path, no one
said
bothered us.
anything. Yeah.
But if they kind of veer towards, anything,
Right.
people kind of get mad at you. But
So it could almost be just from that parking lot up the hill.
Yep.
More or less.
But can you do
Could
that
be.
without getting their permission, because that's private?
Well, that's what I was asking, if it's a public way.
I threw my dog's poop out in the bin and somebody got mad at me.
Yeah. Okay, I was just curious, because it's a squeeze coming down Bay Road between buildings. As far as, I don't know what the town right away is through there, but.
But that park was funded for by federal money, right? Like at Bryant Rock? I heard that it was, that it received federal money, and that's one of the reasons they were able to do it.
Interesting.
And that the park, that nice little park with the little brick path is public.
Okay.
But I don't know where the division is
Right.
between that public park and
Yeah, probably the park.
the private parking lot with the, with the garbage.
Right, right. Okay.
I
Yeah.
think it's definitely worth looking into, definitely. I'm in favor of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Excellent.
Righty, I have one other subject. Are you ready?
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin. Have a good evening.
Recently, Newmarket was lucky enough to get an access at the corner of Elm Street and Main Street, an access to the Lamprey River. We call it the canoe portage. We're very interested in that. It is something that guarantees portage rights, which are becoming contested in many places. And so having that is very important from a legal standpoint. On the other hand, one has to understand that you don't often see people in this area portaging canoes. It's something that gets done a lot more, in northern Maine or the Adirondacks or Canada or whatnot. Still in all, we would like to see that canoe portage improved just a little bit to the point where it is minimally feasible to do a portage. And as you know, that slope is a very treacherous slope today. It's riprap from the 1800s when the mills were here, and it's very steep. It's hard to walk up and down that slope even without a canoe or a kayak on your back. And so we've been looking at the possibility of making some minimal improvement in that area. There is one and only one feasible route, which goes from the end of the guardrail on the southerly side of the river and slab sides down the hill for approximately 100 feet to an area before a drainage outfall, which is just beyond where we're talking about. At the point where that pathway would meet the water, there's a more or less ideal spot to take a boat in and out of the water, lengthwise, and there's no significant rocks in the area and everything. But looking at how we could improve that slab side pathway to be walkable, it's all rough, cobbly stone today. I did an estimate of what it would cost to have a stonemason come in and do some mortared steps of some sort in the area, maybe similar to what was done by our group in Lee for our canoe access point. Unfortunately, my estimate came in at around $25,000, and that was a little scary. I am now looking at the possibility of doing something with volunteer labor and building a log crib pathway out of landscape timbers filled with rubble, stone, or whatnot, and then covered with a suitable material for a pathway, perhaps bark mulch or whatever, which I expect would come in a lot cheaper and a lot more feasible. I'm not here tonight to tell you that we're anywhere near ready to make a final proposal for this. I just wanted to keep you apprised that we are actively interested in seeing this done, and we are looking into affordable plans to do so. When we get something a little more concrete, we'll come back to talk to you and hope to garner your approval.
Excellent.
That is all.
Sounds great. Thank you very much, Preston.
Thanks, Preston.
Okay, thank you.
You guys have been busy, I guess.
What is time? Thanks again.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda the Newmarket Recreation Department has been looking into a kayak event and a potential kayak storage facility at Shanda Park. And I know that Amy has been
Yeah.
to the meetings, and there is also a representative from, I believe, from Seven Rivers Paddling.
Peter, yeah. And we were hoping Jim would be able to come, but I don't think he's going to make it. So if you want, I can try to give just kind of an overview and then you can jump in.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, if you like, come up and just introduce yourself. And
My name is Peter Sautel, resident here in Newmarket and owner of Seven Rivers Paddling.
And Peter's helping us with the event. And but we had some kind of an exciting update at the last meeting. We had a representative from also Lamprey River Association who is able to give, they're able to give grant money for the actual kayak storage. And it's up to $5,000 for that. So that's pretty exciting because originally the kayak event was going to help fund the storage, and now they're able to get the storage in, so now they can use the event to help fund other things needed for it. But a couple of important things with it is that the grant has to be filed by the end of March, and I don't remember the exact date, but so Amy's working on the grant to do that, but we had questions for the Conservation Commission. So let me find my questions here. So one of them was the placement, because she was looking at placing, it would be conservation land is where it would be placed. So Peter brought in some pictures that Amy had of various areas at Shanda Park and
I think they were all at Shanda
just
Park.
around
Yeah,
Shanda Park,
they're just
yeah.
kind of different locations there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was one. The other thing, she wasn't, we weren't sure if
One of the pictures is
the
double-sided.
committee would have to, like, she can write the grant and everything and get it. We wouldn't need to be, conservation wouldn't need to be involved in any of that, right?
I don't think so, because it's for a structure, not for something that.
Right.
But I'm not.
Oh, we'd
it's
have
because
to
it's-
give them permission
We would
to
have
put
to
it
give
on
them-
our property.
Right,
but not to
okay.
write the grant, though.
Conservation property.
Right.
Okay, all right, that's what we were thinking, but we just
we'd
wanted
have-
to make sure.
I think we need to speak to the notion, is that proper for the park?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, no, I think we already just.
Amy
discuss
talked
that?
about it at one.
Yeah,
of the
Amy
meetings
came to
here.
a meeting like several meetings ago.
Mhm.
We did discuss it, and we didn't know if the kayak storage facility would be on the park itself. I don't think the exact location was discussed. I know we definitely discussed the, if I remember right, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I know we discussed the event being at the park.
Right.
And discussed this kayak storage facility.
Yeah, and she didn't have a lot of
as
information
to where
at
to
that
be
point.
placed.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
So that was one thing about placing it possibly on conservation land. The other, was it the structure, type of structure, if
Yeah,
that was
just
the case?
Does it, what kind of a structure? And what we were kind of leaning toward was a, seasonal structure, because right now, if they want to bring recreation boats down to the water, highway management is transporting those boats back and forth for them, a lot of town employees. And so if it's a year-round structure, then there's a lot, the boats can just stay there year-round. So, so kind of a shed, an enclosed structure would be the best way to say it.
Yeah, that's the preferred.
So the kayaks would be inside like a shed?
Correct, yeah.
So an enclosed, sorry.
No worries,
asked a
yeah,
question.
no, not a
So-
problem at
So
all.
you're saying an enclosed shed?
Enclosed structure,
Okay.
yeah.
So is this for anybody's kayak or just your kayaks?
The
So-
rec kayaks.
Yeah, so there's,
Recreational.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Or I
So
can
the rec
answer
center
either.
has several kayaks that they can rent out, but the problem with that is they would have to come to the rec center, do all the paperwork, pay the money for the kayak, and then they'd have to find a way to get the kayak from the rec center down to the river. So the proposed idea was if there's a kayak storage at the river, sorry.
It's okay.
Siri. So, So if there's a kayak storage at the river, that they could come and fill out the information at the rec center, and then just go down, get the kayak out, and then be on their way paddling.
Yeah.
So,
And then to go a little further and to answer your specific question, so when I kind of jumped on volunteering as a Newmarket resident and owner of a kayaking business, I just wanted to help with this race. It seemed like a great opportunity to be a part of the town and support something. And then it's kind of evolved, kind of finding out that they wanted to raise money for a kayak shed, you know. And then my business is looking for kind of having a structure also. I'm interested in trying to create a partnership. And so with this shed, eliminating townspeople and other people coming in to go to the rec department to get that key, and then going back to the water to unlock the boat and go kayaking. My company would manage that. So I would have someone at the water running tours and other programs, and also managing the rental of the boats. And there's kind of a lot of pieces of that partnership. In addition, there's a lot of recreation programs that have been offered in the past using these kayaks, but some grant money has kind of dried up. And so within that partnership, my company would come in and run these programs without any cost, so that, again, these kids who can't afford these programs can now get back on the water and do some other programs. So.
Well, how big would the storage shed? I mean, how many kayaks are we talking about storing?
Yeah,
it sounds like an extensive shed.
It'd be 16 by 20. Was kind of the proposed is the number that I went with.
And it would go in that one of these photos shows that sort of back corner.
Right. Yeah.
Along the road there.
Yeah.
Now, would
between about 12 feet maximum. It can be less than that.
The height?
Yeah, height, 10 to 12 feet.
It would be shed style because that way you wouldn't have to take them out for the winter, and you'd be able to have paddles and vests there.
That's correct.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the part I missed.
Yep.
now, is it only for?
No power. Nope. Sorry.
Is it only for these particular kayaks, or will people in the public be able to use it for their kayaks?
Yep.
Or?
Yeah. So it's for public use, and then also we were talking about, possibly if there's a couple of storage spots for townspeople that want to lease, and be able to leave. The other challenge is people getting their boats on and off their own vehicles. So if there was a few spots where people could, lease a storage spot for their kayak.
Like all year?
All year, right. And that money would go directly back into the rec or the town, or, but now those people don't have to move them. But I have a staff member there that's managing it, keeping it locked up and whatnot.
I want first dibs.
And this is just for kayaks, not canoes?
We've been talking about kayaks, but it can be for canoes or paddle boards also.
Would that fit in the shed?
The storage, yeah, a canoe is definitely going to take up more space.
Okay.
The structure that I've kind of roughly sketched out, which if you want to look at those sketches, I do have them, would be about 24 kayaks inside.
Okay. How many kayaks does the town have, do you know?
I'm not sure how many they have at the rec
I
center.
want to say
I thought
close to
20?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so it'd be a combination of the town's boats in there, and then
Four
a
other
handful of
boats,
mine.
maybe?
Yeah, and then some town people, yep.
So nothing would prevent somebody from bringing their kayak down there and putting it on the rack and leaving it there overnight, locking it to the rack and...
Well,
So
the
the-
staff person, right?
Yeah, so these racks are gonna be inside, within the structure, so then the structure will have two doors and it can be
Oh, I
locked
see,
up.
okay.
So the downfall of someone who would wanna lease would be, they'd be subject to staff hours. My business is open 7 days a week, so there's a little bit more time where people can get it, whereas the rec department was saying, they're only Monday through Friday. So it kind of opens up that window of use also on the water with the
How many
partnership.
kayaks would you want for your business to be in there?
Stored at probably a maximum of 10. 6 or 8 would be fine for me.
Did you all look at was Sliding Rock as well as kind of a place to potentially have a shed or to have smaller ones at both sites, or
Where
is
was
there
the
not?
spot, sorry?
Is that what's called?
Sliding Rock?
Yeah.
Private property?
So it's
I don't-
where the
Is there any
Picassock
public-
comes into the Lamprey there, by Twin Rivers condo units. Do you know where
okay.
that is?
Yeah, I do know where that is, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the other big access point that a lot of
Okay.
people paddle from.
Yeah, something
and
up,
get-
upwards of the
On
dam,
the-
so you could go toward, up the Lamprey instead of
Right.
out towards Great Bay.
Right.
But is Sliding Rock private property?
No, we
No,
have property there.
that's
You can
conservation.
get
We have the
behind the
landing.
condos back there and get down to Sliding
Even
Rock?
on Riverbend, there's quite a
Yeah.
bit of a.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there'd been some talk about that. I think Jeff, maybe, Amy talk with you about that?
That's Sliding Rock.
Not that location? Okay, there was another freshwater location that was talked about, in the possibility having a second location, for townspeople to be able, or for, residents to be able to rent from. I forget the spot though right now, I apologize.
So, so do you have a storefront in town now?
I do not, no, I'm
And-
a mobile business, yeah.
And so somebody would be staffed at this location?
Correct, yeah, one of my staff would be. Yep.
7 days a week?
Yep.
Is that I mean, I don't know. Is
Yeah,
there a
or
rule against
there may be
that?
a few days,
On
a few days
conservation
were closed,
property?
but, so, and I'm not sure how the town of Newmarket, works. I know the town of Dover has a partnership with, University of New Hampshire, which they just, started last year. The town of Durham, has an agreement with Great Bay Rowing Company, and, University of New Hampshire, where there's a town building and there's a memorandum of understanding where both of these organizations maintain the building and do some other various things for
So,
use of their property.
Is that something your organization would be
That's something
doing?
I'm
help with the
proposing.
maintaining and
Right,
all that?
yep,
Okay.
yep. Yeah, so there's a grant for the shed, that we, Amy and myself are hoping to, or I'll help as much as wanted, to get for the building, and then I'm, interested in maintaining it and basically, creating an understanding and an agreement, that makes it a win-win for my business and getting people on the water and the town.
I think it's good. I just am wary of setting a shed in a park.
I don't think we're being asked for that at this point.
Oh, okay.
Are we?
I don't know.
I
So
think we're
the-
being provided
the-
with information.
So the
Okay.
reason,
Well,
the
thank
reason,
you.
so the reason the recreation department wanted to come today, and I
Right.
apologize that I'm representing them as as a taxpayer and not part of the town. But there was permission, to put a shed on the property. And this would be even if there's no agreement with my company, but just for the town, our kind of initial
Rexar, yeah.
hope is that for the town, the use of the town kayaks, that there would be a shed put on that property, kind of, and then the separate conversation is whether I'm involved or not.
Right.
It'd have to look pretty good.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
Gonna put no,
Yeah.
lousy
Yeah,
shit.
yeah, it would be very tasteful shed, and that would again be a discussion of what do we want it to look like, do we want it to look like different things that are down by the waterfront already, or, kind of things like that,
Aesthetically
but,
pleasing.
what's that?
Aesthetically pleasing.
Right, yeah, aesthetically pleasing.
But I think the urgency does lie in the fact that to get the grant, it's got to be submitted by the end of March.
Right.
And this is our only meeting in March. And where it's going to be placed is going to make a difference. I don't know does she have to say in the grant where it's going to be placed in order to get it?
Do you need to secure a location permission
Um,
to apply?
Who have you been talking to?
Lamprey River Association.
Watershed Association or the?
No, Lamprey River.
Advisory.
The advisory
Yeah.
committee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't, I don't think exact, location, orientation, things like that. The more information, the better, but they would like to know, what section of the river it's gonna be on, or,
Right.
I know that two of the three pictures are of the kind of the park proper. I would say, like where I know that a lot of town activities take place down there, and people
Right.
do utilize the park, and it's not a very big space. And when there are town activities there, it is 100% overfull
Mhm.
of,
Right.
of people down there.
Mhm.
I had heard talk about, so, and that all takes place basically up to the split rail fence that's there. And I know on the other side of the fence, there's that grass area, and I don't know where the parcel divide is between the park itself and other town facilities there. But I had heard talk at the town about increasing the green space on the far side of the fence. I don't know if
Mhm.
that's still being thought about.
And that was the
And what-
location she was hoping for. That's what we
Yeah,
talked
that,
about.
I mean, personally, I would prefer it would be on the far side of the split rail fence,
Mhm.
in that grassy area. Or I had heard talk of moving the fence,
Mhm.
the chain link fence that surrounds the pump station, and I don't know if that's a fact, but that would allow for more space over there anyway. I know we do have, these plantings appear to be, when I was out there the other day looking at it, did we plant like this little tree?
I don't believe
Part of the
so.
park? No, so.
No.
Yeah, so I like. I
But
don't
then
know
if you
it's
had
part
a
of that street.
kayak all the way over there, I mean, you'd walk all the way through the park with your kayak to the
Well,
to the
No,
ramp.
there's a.
There's a-
Oh, there's
indent.
that. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, this
Oh,
gets,
yeah.
The dock
this,
is-
the
I
dock.
didn't know if that was public or what.
The
One
dock
dock
is-
is town, one dock is private. There's two docks there. You know those two metal docks?
Okay.
Okay,
One
so there is
closer.
one town one.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask, because when I was down there the other day, I noticed that there is a second attachment point for a dock, and one is on the other side of the fence, and then one is at the end of the little walkway in the park.
Right. So the
And
one.
so it's a private dock.
That's what Amy was letting me know, that it's a private dock, and I guess they have a right of way to that
Mhm.
dock. I don't know who the
Oh,
owner
okay.
is.
The town has a dock there that we used for the river ride.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
That's
the
the,
boat
and that's right here.
During the old home weekend.
Right, so this piece of
It's-
concrete must be the private one, and then this is the one, there's one
Right.
like right here, right?
So are you thinking you could access from that dock? Is that,
From the town dock.
yeah,
Right.
from the
Which
town
is on the
dock?
opposite
Yeah.
side of the
And,
fence.
and then also, I mean, my staff member, there's also, walking it to the boat the boat
As a-
ramp as well, depending on what's gonna work best for people and how to get in and out of a kayak and things,
Just right where that dock is now, I think there's a grass ramp.
There is, yeah, there's a little bit of grass, and there's a
Could be
grass
used.
ramp, that the weir in the winter time is kind of pulled up on.
Right.
And sits there, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know what the durability of that ramp is, for people to be launching kayaks there. But that would also work there.
Yeah, I would think that we would have to, using the town land to access the water, I don't think using the park itself to access the water, I don't think would be an issue, but placing a facility on the park might be difficult to.
Yeah,
I
that
think
makes
that-
me a little nervous.
Yeah.
Right,
And I don't even
even
know.
for town use, kind of removing my business, but just talking for town use and,
Yes.
kayak, rental through town
I don't
entity.
know if that honors the original intention of preserving that open space.
Okay.
I would have to look back to the people that created it.
Right.
And their intent of creating that space. I wasn't on the commission at the time.
Right.
And their vision of that park.
Mhm.
So this might not be too popular either, but what about the parking lot? What about so the parking lot is primarily used, or a lot of it is used to launch boats. But if you had boat storage down there and people could access boats, they might not need to, they could walk down there and pick up a kayak and just go out into the water. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there, that you could consider taking a couple spots out of the parking lot and turning that over to kayak storage.
At the upper end of it, away
At
from
the,
where the
yeah,
boat
the
park-
far
boat
end,
launch is,
yeah. I
I
mean,
think that's
it's
resident,
not,
people.
It's a
that
town.
live
That's
in
a
those
town
buildings.
lot.
it's a town-owned
I
lot.
know, but I mean, people that live in those buildings park there.
I don't know if they can park overnight there.
That's
though.
not, yeah, that's not what that intent is for that parking lot is. It's for using the park, I think.
Yeah, it's for using it if you are, boat or whatever, but I don't think you're allowed to park there overnight.
No, I don't think you are.
But that's
And I don't think they rent out any spaces, the town, in that lot. I don't think, but that'd be a
No,
question.
I've been
for
There
there.
are
Steve.
3 or 4 spaces that are under fishing game,
yeah, the first
the boat
three.
ones.
okay, with the boat parking,
Right.
trailer parking.
Right.
I think the rest is under town control.
Yeah, we'd have to ask Steve about that.
Good idea.
That would that's a good idea. It would not increase the impervious area on the waterfront either.
I'm not in favor of using any open space for retail outlet. We've already had that problem once in town.
Well, I don't think this is
And I'm not sure that
retail.
we should be
I
supporting
mean,
that.
I know your businesses, but like the rec center, it would belong to the town.
Not the person inside working for.
Right, I mean, I guess technically, I mean, we're,
You're
you know,
supporting
we're,
a business.
yeah.
Town supporting a business. I had a business in town for 20 years and they never supported mine, so I don't think we ought to
I'm sorry
start a
to hear that,
precedent
sir.
now. I'm not crazy about the way the golf course worked out with that open space. I think we got trampled on there, and I
Yeah.
really don't want to see it happen here.
Yeah, so, and that's where, I mean, if that's the case, I'm happy to withdraw. My personal goal with my business and being a town person is to really get this water more utilized. Most of the people that I take on tours, and a few people here have gone on my tours, first thing that we talk about is, they're excited about kayaking, but even more so, they're excited about seeing what's around that corner. Because there's a lot of people that live in our town that have never seen what's around that corner. So that's, I think, something that's valid. And getting the rec department to be able to get their boats by the water, for kids to be able to use them, and for people from our community to be able to get boats on the water. So
Yeah, I think,
as a taxpayer,
Yeah.
that's where my heart is.
I always envisioned it from the time we started talking about it right here, right on that side of the fence.
yeah.
But I just don't know.
What's at the end of the
who's-
road?
I always assumed it was part of the town right away because the road goes down
To the pumping station?
to the pumping station. It's almost like the road.
Yeah.
And then the pumping station, for someone to privately own this little piece of grass, I'd be surprised, not saying it's out of the question, but if someone has it right away to utilize that docking, you just wouldn't be able to impede their right away.
Could
They
they
still
put-
have to, you can't block their access or whatever.
So the issue is with having a business run it, or is the issue with it altogether, even if the rec center ran it fully? Rented it out, like I'm just trying to understand.
Location for
Yeah.
Depends on the
For me,
location.
for me, it depends on location. Yeah, I don't believe that. I personally don't believe that land set aside specifically for conservation should house business. But I have no problem with them being adjacent and utilizing the land to launch kayaks, and because they're all like he's explained, and they are also helping utilize the kayaks that the town has purchased for the citizens to use, which are very difficult for the average person to access.
And I don't see any problem with just putting up kayak racks right there to house 8 kayaks without putting a roof over it. Just have racks like they have down at Sliding Rock. They have just racks there. People who live there put their kayaks on it, they paddle lock them on there, and they use them. So why, I don't see any problem with putting up a rack there, not putting up a building, not to finance a business down there. Just have it there for the citizens. That's property that's made for the citizens of Newmarket to use. So use it. I mean, I don't see using that we're going to be using that much land to put up a kayak rack. I don't see that it's going to be a big area to use. So I don't see any problem with doing it.
The problem is that if you do that for the town's kayaks, the people can't really use them without still going to, I mean, you could still go to the rec department when they're open to get a paddle and a
Right.
vest.
Well,
But you have to
the
supply a-
rec
a
department will
paddle.
have to run that. They'll have to go down and unlock the things for the people
Well,
who
you
use
get
them.
a
Or you
key
bring
and
your own
use it.
kayak
Yeah,
there
you
and you
could get a
lock
key.
and lock your own kayak there and use
But
it.
there's many ways they can do it, but I don't think that's what we're here for.
Yeah, we don't need to figure that out.
We don't have to
No.
figure that
Okay.
out. That's their
So
problem.
let's back up. Let's back up if we
Yeah.
can. I'm hot.
No, it's all
This
hot in
room's
here.
hot.
Yeah.
I would like this meeting to continue to move forward. In the interest of that, what specifically are we being asked to do tonight? And how do we provide a response to that?
Need a motion, huh?
Well, I don't know. I'm still, it's still not clear to me what we're being asked.
It's a very good question,
Is it
Drew.
the grant? Is it?
To let them put a shed on our Shanda Park
But kayak storage on conservation land is what she's asking.
in the form of a shed or in the?
I think she thought that you would prefer the shed, was what I was understanding, but yeah.
I mean,
She's in Australia.
Well,
and
Preston's here.
because of
and
the
he's a
grant, because of the grant, this is why.
Yeah, they have a grant that needs to be done by the end of March.
Yeah, March 31st, I believe, so.
Yeah.
I think Preston has an idea.
All right. Great.
The grant that we have comes from National Park Service is an appropriation to fund planning of a facility, not construction. The thought arises that this $5,000 might best be applied to hiring a planner to look at various opportunities for kayak access.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
In the entire Lamprey River Basin, below the dam, as far as Lower Narrows. I know that behind the fire station, downstream of the sewer treatment plant, there is a fairly large parcel that's owned by the town. It goes all the way down to, I think it's called Birch Drive, where you have Lower Narrows. There may be an opportunity to get something in there on town land and open up a whole new facility that we haven't thought about. What you could do with your $5,000 is go find a planner. It's going to have to be somebody, you know, at a low hourly rate, but find a planner that can take some mapping and look at the various opportunities in this basin from the dam down to Lower Narrows and make a proposal. Maybe there are 3 and 4 or 5 proposals and you get some, you know, what ifs, pros and cons for each one of these, and come back to the Recreation Committee, who can then choose one or more plans and come back to you with some, you know, knowledge that these plans have some reasonable degree of working. This planner would have to be someone that's familiar with how you get in and out of a kayak.
Right.
What sort of shoreline is suitable. what
Which
sort
brings
of
me back
landing-
to, I'm still not clear what we're being asked, and based on what you've just told us, Preston, I don't think we need to be asked anything.
So there's 2 grants, from what I understand, and, excuse me, sir, we were specifically told from someone from the advisory committee, the Lamprey River, that one of them would build the shed or kayak structure that we were talking about. And there was, so that's what we were going off of. And then there was another one that kind of was, so there's a grant right through your advisory, or through the Lamprey River Advisory Committee for $5,000. And then there's another one that's through the National Park Service.
Which one of them is for planning?
I don't know, because what I was told about was,
Yeah,
was for the construction.
We were asked to
building.
come
So
and.
I apologize for the confusion and
Yeah.
the waste of your time at this point. What has been asked a couple of times, specifically what Amy wanted to be here and ask for, was the approval to move forward and write a grant to be able to put a kayak storage on
Conservation land.
land.
So, okay.
Can't really.
Whether
Excellent.
there's- yeah.
That's pretty straightforward. So the only thing that you don't know though is if, so not this spot.
Not, okay.
Is that what you're saying?
Uh,
Because we don't know if that's conservation land.
We
or
don't know
not.
who
We don't
owns it.
know, right.
So you have to, We can
we
take a
don't-
vote on, we can take a vote specifically on Shanda Park tonight and whether or not we would allow it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and then that would be able to focus
Then she can
the
look at-
attention
yeah.
towards a place where we may be able to get permission to do it.
Unless that little area is Shanda Park.
Don't
Right.
Does that change anybody's opinion?
I don't believe it is, but I could be wrong too. I've been wrong many times. But I think what Drew said is true. We need to do something here. They're asking for
Right,
permission
that's
to
what I said,
do what?
we can vote on that, we can say, if wherever, if we look at these two pictures and say, would we approve something on what is considered Shanda Park
Right.
property?
Okay.
Okay.
Right?
Is that a motion?
What we need to know, specific, a size, and I think they already told us a size 16 by something.
20.
And that can
We don't have to,
change.
we don't.
That can change, that's
I mean,
not-
things are flexible.
We
Sorry,
don't-
speak up.
yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, we don't necessarily have to vote approval, we can vote.
Right,
we-
sure.
We can vote to,
Let them go for the grant.
no, why would we
Well,
vote to
don't
do
even
that,
have to
though?
vote that.
Right. So how about this? I think what we're being asked for, or at least part of my understanding of what we're being asked for, is the pursuit of a grant to, yeah, see, I don't know why we would be asked for permission to pursue a grant.
Right.
No,
No,
that's not what
I'm
she's
saying.
asking.
So-
The specific request was that we approve
The
the
placement.
placement
Right.
of a facility.
Is that what you're
Somewhere
proposing?
in.
Is somebody gonna propose that here tonight? Is the rec
That-
department here to say, we would like your permission to set this up on your property?
No
Do
one
I
is
hear
here.
that
No one is
proposal?
here, no. There's a person from the town who is here.
So there's
but that's
no
about it.
actual presentation for us that I can see or hear.
There's no one from the recreation department, sir.
So
No,
there's
you're
nothing
right.
for us to vote on.
Am I allowed to present it as a taxpayer who's volunteering their time on this project?
You can't really speak for the recreation
didn't think so, yeah.
department, I
I've
wouldn't
worked for
think.
I think we need
department,
somebody
I
from the
didn't
rec
think so.
department
Yeah.
to say, this is what we want to do on your property.
Right.
So-
And if that happens, let them happen, but
Well, so let me back up. I mean, me personally, I'm all in favor of the rec department pursuing a grant that would look at planning and figuring out if there is an appropriate location to put either a kayak rack or a shed, and how they, figure out how to get more people involved and on the water. I'm all in favor of that.
Great.
Right.
I don't know how I express that, other than saying exactly what I just said.
that's what you just said.
However, if the end result of that plan, I don't imagine that the end result of that planning would be coming back and saying, hey, we need to build a giant shed on Shanda Park, or I would hope that that's not the final result, because I would have a hard time supporting that. Maybe that's the better way
Right.
to sum up where I'm at.
That, yeah,
Agreed.
I think you probably, most of the
Yeah.
people on the commission are.
So
yeah.
what about the
Same.
idea of a motion that the Conservation Commission is supportive of a grant exploring exploring the possibilities of having some type of kayak structure in or adjacent to access to town land, and that does not exclude Shanda Park, but that the understanding is that when there's actual sighting of what is considered appropriate, that would have to come back. So we're saying that, in general, we support having sighting of this if they're, them pursuing that, but that we are not in support of a specific location at this point, and that's something we'd have to review when that was actually proposed. I don't know if that would give enough flexibility to proceed with the grant and to kind of look at some of these things and to have a more specific kind of ask around that. But I wonder if we can have that flexibility, and then they could come back and say, here's where we're actually doing it, and then we could say, oh my goodness, no, or yeah, that looks fine, etc.
It's a kind of a planning board style acceptance of a.
Conditional, yeah.
Accept,
Right, a
acceptance,
conditional acceptance.
acceptance of an application,
Really
but not
wordy.
approval of a.
Site review.
Yeah, acceptance of an application, but not approval of a
Right.
application. We've accepted the idea, but we're not approving it.
Second.
You can talk about this all night, but
I know, you
What's-
really need a recreation person.
think about this, no one that owns property on that river would be able to put a shed that close to the water. Number one, nobody.
That's a whole nother issue of permitting.
Okay, and I can't see where the conservation should stand up and say, yeah, but we can, when you couldn't do it if you own 20 acres there. I'm not crazy about seeing a shed there. You can
Well,
probably
no.
tell. Storage rack, I might be convinced.
In the parking lot.
You know what, bring your own, I got in trouble for telling people to walk their dog on their own property, so I have to be careful here. But,
It wasn't
you
him.
know, responsibility goes a long way. And I think we're charged with the responsibility of keeping that park open the way it is. Okay?
I agree.
And the other option too would be if the deadline's the end of March, and I don't know when the person's coming back, but I mean, if there is a concrete plan of having a special meeting that would just be to discuss this, and so if they find out that, you know, it is that third thing, and whether that's in or not, and whether we have to do something or not, I mean, if it wouldn't, if it wouldn't change anything from what people are talking about now, then it wouldn't necessarily be worth doing, but if they have something concrete, we could come back.
Well, I think the rec should go and ask for the money and then explore where they can do it.
Yeah.
If they come here and say, can we put it in your park? I say, no, but that doesn't mean they can't do it someplace else on the river. There's a lot of other property, so I think it would be in their best interest to put in for the grant. What's the worst thing that
Makes
can
sense.
happen?
Right.
They don't
You
accept
have
it.
$5,000 you don't know what to do with.
They got a director, you should be here and you should be presenting this.
Yeah, as
Absolutely.
long as it's within the Lamprey River, kind of within their, you know.
Yeah, so you still have access.
And I do like the parking lot idea, and there is other, if it's a nice day,
Well,
people can park other places.
Parking's
Town
a
has a
premium
hard
in
enough time
town, though.
parking cars
If you've got
now
20
that
people
if we
coming
take
down to
some
use
up
the
with a
kayak,
20-foot
where are they
Yeah.
gonna park? It's the kayak.
We're
The
getting
lot-
tight
the
on
lot
parking.
Behind the
parking.
library.
I'm just
I
playing
like
the
the
devil's
parking lot
advocate.
idea.
And that would have to go, I think,
So-
if it was a
Walk on the
parking
new
lot idea,
sidewalk.
that would probably
Yeah.
have to go to the town
Let's
administrator
not get
to
into anything about
discuss.
timber, because
So-
that's not
And
gonna
I
go
think
over
outside the
most
fence might have to go to the town administrator
Yeah,
to
I agree.
discuss as well,
Mhm.
because that may not be.
Right, if
you'd have
that's
to-
town land, it'd have to go to him.
As well. And I, like I said, I would completely support it there. Shed, or personally, shed or whatever, you know, getting the town's kayaks out in
Okay.
use and
So I think,
use on, that's why I was saying we could just vote today and say, no, yes or no, you can't put it in Shanda Park. That would answer a question, but they're,
If somebody makes a motion, we can vote on it.
I think you have to have more information before you can say yes or no. I mean,
I don't.
well, we're gonna give
I
them
already know what I
blank,
think.
carte blank, permission to put something, whatever, on a piece of property that we've got, that's pristine.
We don't even know what it looks like.
We don't even know what it is.
Right.
Right.
Well, I mean, I can envision a shed and a kayak rack both, and I'm not keen on either of those going in the park.
I'm not opposed to a kayak
it's
rack.
very, it's very, can I just make a motion? Just so we can move on, and
Yeah,
then,
let's
and then we
do
don't,
that.
we don't force them to
I'm-
come back to us in a month
Right.
and say, can we put it on Shanda Park? And it's like,
Right.
okay, you just came out again. So, I'd like to make a motion to whether or not we would accept a proposal to place a kayak storage facility within the bounds of Shanda Park.
I'll second that motion.
Does that make sense? Whether or not we would.
So what does that really mean? It's just a proposal.
So whether or not we would entertain a proposal to place a kayak storage facility on Shanda Park.
Then they still have to come back and tell us
Yeah,
what
so,
it
so we're
is.
not accepting anything specific, we're just saying, will we entertain the idea of it going on the park proper?
Sounds good.
Didn't you already say the original intent of it might already say yes or no too, though, that like this might be beyond our scope in the sense of what it's designated for? In terms of when the land was originally.
Was it different than what you just proposed?
Yeah, well, that's what I said. That's what I said. It goes back to the people that originally created the park and their vision of what it was
Right.
intended
So, I mean-
for and to do. I mean, was it intended to bring people to the waterfront? Was it intended
Well,
to
we're managing it now. I mean-
preserve a patch of grass on the edge of the river? Was it, you know what I mean? Like, there's,
Yeah.
so.
It
and-
would bring more people to the river, but I think
Right.
you're
this would
setting the
cost
wrong
outweigh the
precedent to
original.
put a shed there, but, you know, but I think we have to, you know, when we're on the planning board, you have to accept something to be able to vote it down. And what you're doing is saying we can accept a proposal, but this is how we'd vote on it, right?
No, I'm saying, would we even entertain a proposal? Like,
Okay.
like, if someone were to say, can we put it's almost putting a restriction on the property. It's almost like you know, I guess I probably can't do it, maybe. I think we should just let them come back with
Because how can we even entertain a proposal when we don't really have one?
well,
There's
it's,
nobody
it's,
here.
It's like
Well,
a
they can
future.
come
It's like
back
a,
and talk
right.
about it.
It's
Right,
almost
but
like
there's nobody
You
here.
could just send me away and send Amy
Somebody
back from
wants
the
to
rec
say in the
department.
rec department that we do this. You
no,
see what I mean?
no, I do. I understand completely. It's almost independent of them being here.
Yes.
Like they don't even have to be here to
Right,
for us to have
right.
this discussion.
Do you want to open it back up for comment?
Go ahead, Bruce. And then
Oh, Preston.
we don't.
We could do a vote to show our support or not support the issue without actually granting permission. And maybe that would help them make up their mind if they want to pursue the project on the Shanda Park.
Or elsewhere.
I agree with that.
And that might save them a lot of time, so they can set up the study to look at different areas.
That they can set it up without us voting.
They can.
Right.
That's what
But if they come to us and say, we want to do your park, they already know the answer. Either we would or we wouldn't entertain it.
So,
Well, we still have a
and if-
motion
so
that we
besides
haven't
I
voted
would
on.
just suggest though that there is, I think that anybody who wants to listen to this meeting will get a sense of what the Conservation Commission feels on this, and I don't know that we need a formal vote for or against, and I would say that even if we were 100% against it, I would think it would be a courtesy that if the Parks Department had a plan as a proposal that we'd consider it and say yes or no, even if, like, I don't think we necessarily want to say, we're not even going to listen to a proposal that you make. I would imagine that we'd do that even if they know from the outset, but I think that they would have a sense of what folks are saying just from this meeting
we've
without
already done
any
an informal
motions and
vote.
votes.
Sure.
Preston was interested in saying something.
He had something to say.
Yeah, sure. Please, Preston.
My recommendation would be to decline to take any action tonight pending a proposal of more substance. You all have given the Recreation Department some pretty valuable guidance tonight, and I think one of the important things that you brought up is the permitting. You're in the shoreline protection area, so all of these things have to be taken into account and should be taken into account by a qualified professional. That would be the person that would be hired under this grant if the Recreation Department proceeds with an application.
True. And yes, thank you, Preston. Because we don't even know. It could be in part of the urban exempt portion of town, because there's an urban exempt portion of the downtown. Yeah, we do.
You never made an application for that.
Oh, really? I don't know. I know that the mills are, I think, are in the urban exempt portion. There's several lots downtown, but regardless, I think that's a good idea. People agree?
All in favor?
I rescind my motion. Attempt to clarify a future event, but
Well, thank you.
yes, thank you very much.
Thanks, Peter.
Made a decision. The rec department, not myself, will come back and present
Good.
something to us. All right, thank you
Thank
all.
Thank you so much for
Peter.
coming out tonight.
Sure, thank you.
I appreciate
Thank
it.
you for your patience.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
Sorry, mine
Thank
is
you for your
short.
patience.
we know, Drew. We know. It's okay.
That's
Have a good night.
Thank you,
Thank you for your
Preston.
valuable insight,
I
Preston.
know.
Moving on quickly, approval of minutes from February 11th, 2016. Sue distributed those via email. I don't know if there are any corrections.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the February 11th, 2016 Conservation Commission meeting.
Second. Any discussion? None? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I wasn't here.
Abstention?
I wasn't here.
So it's five, six, two.
Yeah, one abstention.
Two.
Two abstentions. Excellent. Next item would be the treasurer's report.
Okay, so, I'm getting a wrangle on getting better at looking at this. I think we got our current, use change that you were expecting, is
Yeah.
that so?
Yes.
From the Bald Hill, area for $17,750, and that came through on the 12th of February. And
What page is that on?
that is on the page,
Okay, got it.
general ledger account, page 1 at the bottom. And, okay, oh yeah, and then, the rain barrel check has been deposited, and thank you.
Well,
Yeah, thanks for going over there.
No
And, our recording secretary has been paid, and some interest happened, and a stamp was bought. And that's all I have.
excellent. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any questions on that before we move on? Next would be committee and subcommittee reports. Amy, do you have anything from town council?
I don't.
Thank you.
I don't have any updates, but I was wondering whether we want to have a motion or have some formal support in terms of asking the planning board to look more into this issue around the Bay Road and Packers Falls sidewalk extensions or sidewalk issues for connecting to the footpaths. I can also just express that people seemed interested in it, but I didn't know if we wanted to have any more formal mechanism of our sense of interest.
I support the,
Sorry, go ahead.
the Bay Road one,
Mhm.
more so than the other one, because I feel like the other one is gonna be a sidewalk to nowhere without Durham continuing that on, so, I don't know, I would put emphasis on the Bay Road one.
Yeah, I concur. I would just put more emphasis towards access to Heron Point.
It would be nice to know more about that program if there were more funds. So a lot of our conservation lands are along Grant Road, which has no sidewalk. If there was funding to build a sidewalk to create greater pedestrian access for that, that would really be nice for the town. But I don't know
Even a bike lane, I mean.
what extent that grant provides funding for.
If I'm right, I walked that land out near, what do they call it, the trestle, and I think that's where that footpath that they're talking about, you going in, if Durham, whatever, going through that cemetery, the Chesley Cemetery off Packers Falls, or I think is what they call it, you go down to the trestle and you walk along the river, then you cannot come up, are they thinking about coming along the river and then coming up on the Newmarket side over there between the old Karashevitz place across from Hopi's, coming out there as on the trail to make the sidewalk. So if you go up to the town line, that's where we're going to stop at the sidewalk at the old Karashevitz place. So is that going to be part of a nature walk? Because I have gone through part of that, and I know it's not completed. That
I think
trail.
they're looking at unifying the
think-
trails.
That their trail system, if I'm not mistaken, because Preston came to us a while back and
Yeah.
spoke about something. I think they're a ways out.
Yes.
They're
I
like
think I walked the whole
years and
thing
years out there.
up to the train, almost the train tracks, where you could see where the B&M train tracks are, but I couldn't actually get back onto Packers Falls Road without bushwhacking through the woods. There was no trail to complete that, so I had to back.
Because you have to cross the tracks, which is, you're not really allowed to cross the tracks.
No.
The only place to cross is under the trestle, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I don't think you cross the tracks, you gotta come around and stay on this side of the tracks
Oh,
anyway.
the whole thing on this side of the
Yeah,
tracks.
make a
now, yeah.
loop.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it wasn't completed, but it was a nice walk up to the part to where I got to, and when
Yeah.
you hit the water, it's a dead end.
Because he had spoken, when he came to us before, he spoke about following the river all the way around and crossing the tracks again.
So I can support a sidewalk up to that, if they're gonna do that trail.
Yeah.
But I would support the Bay Road one first.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's more important.
That's the other, I mean, Diane handed me this the other day, Diane Hardy from Planning Department. I don't know if you've seen the subdivision proposed subdivision out on Grant Road. I didn't have this on the agenda. She handed it to me the other day. I stopped in to ask about something different, and
Whoa.
she mentioned this to me. So this would abut the parcel that we've talked about accepting potentially for conservation. It'd be the old Charlie Dearborn home and a 2-lot subdivision. And so I actually haven't even had time to review these plans. The only thing that came to mind right away was that I don't see prime wetlands shown on this plan, Ezra. So if that's something you can bring up, I would appreciate it, because I'm almost positive that the prime wetlands impact the northwest corner of this parcel.
I think that, is this 216 Grant Road? I think it'll be at our next meeting that we'll be discussing it, so I can bring that up.
Yeah, because Diane had asked if we had any comment on this. So this is the only format I have this in, is this large
Okay.
format, and I got it yesterday. So I have not distributed it. I will make it available to people. You can look at it after the meeting, and I can scan it at work tomorrow and email it around. But as far as, I don't know if anyone wants to unroll it and look at it now.
No.
But as far as comments that I have from my quick look is that prime wetlands should be addressed on the plan.
And then our meeting will be, it's next Tuesday, because it's usually, right, it would have been the past Tuesday except for the election. So if you send that out, if anyone has comments that you want me to bring forward, just, you can let me know before then.
Excellent. Thank you. For Chairman's report, the Lubberlin Creek culvert replacement, they,
It's they're gonna tear that place down.
I did receive the check request for the $10,000.
Oh.
And I did go in, and so that bill has been paid. So that was the $10,000 that we offered up as part of the engineering study, helping fund the engineering study for the Lubberlin Creek replacement that representatives came to one of our meetings recently to go give us an update on. And that is all I have from the chairman's report.
Scholarship?
Oh,
We've already
yeah.
okayed it, I believe. Yes, right? No? Well, we'll bring it up now then. In the past, we have done a scholarship, started out as a $500, went up to $1,000 for residents of Newmarket attending college to pursue career in the ecology conservation effort. So I would like to renew that this year, make a motion that we award a $1,000 scholarship to a graduating senior from Newmarket, which opens it up to others, schools, not just Newmarket High School. I think we went through that in the past.
Yeah.
We clarified that. So
I'll second the motion.
Excellent.
What is that? We're opening up to others besides
Like
Newmarket
well,
you
High
there
go
are
to-
School?
some people that are homeschooled. There are some people that go to
Residents of Newmarket.
St. Thomas or another school, alternative school.
Okay.
And we have awarded it to alternative education before, so,
Yeah.
and it's worked out, so I think it's a good idea to keep it open.
It would just be for high school, wouldn't be for any student? What about a college student? That was
It's for
little.
entering college.
It's entering college, usually we award it at, well, other than that one time, we usually award it at awards night at the high school.
In the past, we've had that discussion, as to whether or not we would award it
To an undergraduate.
to an undergraduate. And we haven't done it. I think there's only been 1 year since I've been on the commission that we didn't award it to an actual graduating senior.
Right.
We didn't award it to anyone.
The history of the scholarship was, in the past, we used to send several students to, oh gosh, I forgot the name of it. But it was like an eco school weekend, eco school camp, day camp. The interest just faded away, and no one was taking us up on the scholarship for that. So we decided to offer it to a graduating senior because the expense of school.
The reason I mention it is because I know several undergraduate environmental students that could also use a scholarship.
The
From
thing with
Newmarket?
Residents and undergraduate residents are
Right, different.
two different things. So I know in the past we've done it for high school graduate seniors. So I personally myself, I'd like to see it stay that way. But
I think that's what it was meant for, high school, Newmarket high school
the
graduates.
original intent
wasn't
was
wanted.
Newmarket high school graduates, and then we opened
Full
it up
college.
to other high schools that our students go to.
Mhm.
So you second it?
Yes, I did.
That's what I have to say about it.
Yeah. Take a vote now? What's his other discussion?
Any other discussion?
Any other discussion? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Did you get count, Sue?
Sorry. Yeah, we're lowering the hands quick. There was a one?
No, I was in favor.
Oh,
I'm just trying to hold my hand up and keep
Long
it
enough.
up.
Long enough for her to count.
Long enough for
Right.
a day.
okay, all those in favor?
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up, Bruce. Will you draft the letter as typical? Or forward the letter?
How about if I get you usually, I have one more meeting. I did not re-up. Okay, so I don't want to leave it so it gets forgotten. So I will get you last year's letter and application, and you'll have to edit it for this
Yep.
year.
Easy enough.
Yeah, I don't mind doing
And,
that.
I usually dealt with Pauline LeBranch at the guidance office,
Okay.
who is, she's a big help. She does a lot of the footwork, and she routes some of the students, say, hey, get a letter in for this. It's here waiting for you. And she does a lot of work that way, so
Okay.
I would say whoever takes over should talk with her.
Okay.
Okay. Like, go in there. So you'll email
I
out
will
the letter?
get you
or-
the paperwork somehow. I'll give it to Jeff, and you can.
Okay, yeah, forward it over
Okay.
to me, or whatever.
Yeah, it's easy. It's easy for Bruce to stop by my house. He
Andrea's
drives by it
worked-
every
You
day,
worked
so.
with the committee last year.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the
we
year
looked
before,
at
I
the
think.
letters together for 2
Yeah.
years, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
very good, thank you.
Thank you, Bruce, for bringing that up.
Yeah.
I did not have it on the agenda. The Wigan Farm Tuttle Swamp Management Plan was on the agenda. All I wanted to do is let people know that I did meet with Ellen this evening, and we visited the cabinets downstairs. I pulled out a lot of the Wigan Farm Tuttle Swamp documents, and she now has them to go through and use for Working Hunter update to the management plan. And that's it for now. She's still in the information gathering phase of the project. The next thing I had on there was the Wigan Farm boundary maintenance. I spoke to Rick Molaski, and he said the sooner the better as far as placement of boulders along the boundary line in question. So as soon as we can get someone out there.
Okay,
So
I'll reach out to the surveyor who had expressed some interest and see if we can set up the timing.
okay. So it sounds like week time would work good if one of those folks can do that. Yeah, I think he said preferably before the end of April.
Okay.
The only other thing I had,
I have one small thing.
Sure.
Invasive species cleanup, shall we schedule that since it's a little bit warm for April? something, or wait till April?
Can we pick a weekend in May? So, because I know that we need to if we want to get help from Liberty Mutual.
Well, Liberty's project would have to be during the week. So it's during work days that people actually from Liberty get the day off, or they get to volunteer that day for a community organization. So I've put in that project and it got accepted. They must have contacted you to follow up. I don't know, but they accepted it. So what we really need to do is actually by the next meeting, we should have something identified as a project, because they will do the work in May. So we could work with Ellen if we do it at Wigan Farm and see if she's identified, or if there's an invasive project that we want to do. And ideally, we should try and pick something that people could work on 5 days, 8 hours a day, or 7 hours a day, so they'll take a lunch break in there.
Wait, they're gonna work a whole week straight?
If we get it, it depends on the signups that we get, but we should prepare to have a project.
That's a big project.
There's 7,000 employees
I know.
that potentially can sign up. There's 7,000 employees in this area from Liberty Mutual. So there's a large group of people, and there's a large group of people that live in this area that work at Liberty, and people tend to like projects that they can drive to right from their home that are close by. So that's the great thing of doing something in Newmarket. So we should think big, but, and if it ends up smaller, that's okay. If we only get 3 days or something, it's still going to be okay. We don't want to, I think the ideal project is something like removing invasives, or some of Ellen's things that she talked about was cutting back some areas, things like that we could easily
I wonder if we could
have
do a
people
combining
do.
of the both in one, because it's sort of the same area at Wigan Farm, the invasives, and then where we talked about reestablishing a transition habitat.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's premature to ask her for specifics on what to do. Are you going to be available? Are you going to try to volunteer for the same?
Well, I've already volunteered to sort of, what I would do is every morning I would be there when people got there and help them organize, here's what your assignment is, kind of thing. It would certainly help if there were any other volunteers in the Conservation Commission that could be out there, but basically we need to have a volunteer there every day, sort of say, here's what your assignment is for the day.
And then to be there all day, I would think, right? Just
It
so
would
that we
help
have a
if
representative.
I think it would help if somebody from either our commission could be there or someone from the town.
Well, that might be tough with invasive species, because, we know,
Right.
but just sending a crew out,
I know.
go cut.
I know in the past I've gone out and flagged them.
That's what I was going to say. We could
I tie a
flag in
ribbon on,
advance everything we wanted done.
Cut all these things down.
Or pull all these out, but I would be hesitant to cut them loose without oversight.
Yeah, really.
Well, we can have
Everything's
oversight.
got.
Just means it's a bigger commitment upon either us, or if we could get someone from the town to be there, like from Rick Molaski's group or anybody like that.
They would know.
Yeah, it's hard for us to commit that.
Yeah. We usually do
We're
like
not
a
their boss.
Saturday for 4 hours screwing around in the woods once a year.
I might be able to schedule a day off of work and commit a day.
So can
But
we limit it to a day?
Yeah, we could limit it to as little as we want.
Oh.
yeah. So say because I could work in a
Yeah,
day
I
out
have
of my
Mondays off
schedule.
anyways.
Yeah. So we could say Monday. It's a 2-week period, and we could schedule the days within that 2-week period. But I do want us to get something lined up so we can, if we could have it lined up by April, then I can get something out there promoting it, saying if you come to Newmarket and volunteer for the Conservation Commission, this is what you'll be doing, because people want to know, what am I going to be doing?
Right. So maybe do an email between us to see what days people could do it, what times people could help.
Right. And
I know I could do a Monday,
Okay.
so.
I think boy, So by our next meeting, we should definitely have a target location.
Yeah, the more
and a number of days set.
Yeah, and I will, what I
Voted
will
on
do
our
is
next-
email you the range of days in May that it is, so that you guys can look at that for your calendars.
And then
So-
we can pick a day and say, this is the
Yeah,
day. we
you
want
could say, yep, this is the days that we want to offer people to sign up to do the project.
It's almost too good.
I know. We can get the weed
Because
wrenches.
because we can't manage. It's so good we can't manage.
Well, that's the thing, if we can make it a good experience, then we could stay on the list, and then next year we could go to 2 days, or
Right.
we could grow as we grow with it.
Right.
So the important thing is to make it a really good experience the first year out, so that people are like, oh, I'm doing something, I'm impacting something, I feel good about it.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
They're pretty peaceful.
I could see targeting 5 people very well at like the Piscassic Ways Out for a day and not getting into Wigan Farm until Ellen has a chance to present what she wants. But
That's true.
Do you do a rain date?
Her
for
ideas
it?
are. I don't know. Anyway, so we don't have to we don't have to solidify that until next week.
I was asking if you do a rain date for it, like if you're doing Monday, like the first Monday of the 2 weeks, but it's the other one after. If you're trying to, especially if you're trying to make a pleasant experience.
we work
Yeah,
late, so-
yeah,
Oh,
they
you do.
were,
I'm saying if
they
you're volunteering.
have worked through, yeah, no, they know it's rain or shine, and
Okay.
that's what you get with the outdoor project. So if you want to
Okay.
be outdoors and get a day like we had the other
Right, or you
day and
could sit
get
in
lucky,
the
or a day like today, you just don't know.
Do you know who I would get the email from? The person's name? Because if I get an email that just says Liberty Mutual.
Right.
might not-
It'll probably be
It's
for
an
me.
ad.
I signed up as
Maybe got
to
filtered.
coordinate it between the two agencies, so it would be me.
Oh, so it would have come from you. Did
No,
you-
I think
oh.
what they did was I gave them, I think they had to confirm that we were, in fact, a conservation commission. So I think they just called the town and said, you have a conservation commission, correct? And that's all they asked for, I guess.
Okay.
But I gave them your name in case they needed to speak to someone and if they didn't contact you, but I definitely got the approval.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. It's great to hear. Thank you.
Yeah.
For going into that. The only other thing I was going to bring up was this, and that's really it. That the Dearborn property donation. Well, hopefully we'll hear more about at our next meeting. They're supposedly closing that estate at the end of this month, so we should hear more about that. So maybe at our next meeting, we might have to talk about, because we talked about possibly having it surveyed, an RFP for survey coming together out of our next meeting. Just thoughts for one, and then putting one together for the following meeting. That's right. And Drew has one other thing.
Yeah, so I have one last thing. So we received an application for the usage of Shanda Park. The application is from Loco Sports, and their request is to use it on April 10th for the post-race celebration for the 10th annual Great Bay Half Marathon. And they have used the park in the past. The race finishes right in downtown, and so the park is a very convenient place for people to gather afterwards and be off the street. And the food is down there and that sort of stuff. So it's a good event.
Excellent. Thank you, Drew. And I know we've certainly supported this for a number of years now. And they've always left the park in the
They're good partners.
same
Yeah.
condition that they've
Do we normally
they
make a
found it.
motion to accept?
And yeah.
Yeah, I think we did.
So I'll make that motion that we accept the application and give them permission to use the park on April 10th for their finish line and their celebration.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. I thought nobody.
So much good. All
I
those
plan
in-
to be there to celebrate.
All those
Aye.
in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Excellent. Abstentions? Done. And I believe that's all we have. I know that there's still money left in the amount that we had also set aside for field trips for the for Newmarket schools. The only question I had on that is, did we tell anyone about them this year? And I haven't been the one that's made the notification before.
How much do we have for field trips? Because I can add that to my school conversation.
I wanna say we had appropriated 500 last time, and I thought a couple. What's that?
Was it 750 this year?
It was 500. I have to go back and.
I don't know if we did one this year.
No, not this. I don't mean this calendar year, but this school year. Like I think we did one in the fall, maybe. Maybe not.
I don't know.
I came across it when I was going through my documents the other day, but.
Did we do a presentation at the high school for?
No.
No. We so if someone goes on a natural resources oriented field trip, like they're gonna go, often it was used to help in busing to go to like Fort Foster, where they look at tide pools and stuff like that, is what it's been utilized for in the past.
Yeah.
We've helped fund busing, which is their major cost, I guess. So that's all I was wondering, is if the school is still aware, if we've sent a letter. I know I didn't, someone else was doing this communication.
I think I had written that before. I'll look for it.
And I'm sure if we are.
Should I let them know when I call about the scholarship that this money is still available if they have something planned as the weather turns?
No, let me get back to you on that.
Okay.
And I'm sure if it goes over what we still have appropriated, we would probably be able to reappropriate, but because it doesn't get used every year. I don't think we've had a single year where it's gotten used, so there's probably a built-up amount, because we never put a deadline on it either. I don't think so. I don't know if there's a statute of limitations.
I would have said we do, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't remember doing it. But anyhow, that's all I have.
Could I ask, I know we discussed the kayak storage, but I was wondering about the kayak event. Is that so I know that was to raise money for the storage, but
Right.
is that going forward independent of what happens with the storage? Or?
Yeah, it's going forward regardless. Yeah.
When's that?
Well, now she is looking at the end of August, which I want to say the Saturday prior to, do I have it written down, to when school starts? August 27th. Because the tides work out well with that date. So,
Are they
yeah.
gonna wanna use the park? Like local sports? Let's use the
I'm sure
park.
she's going to want to use the park, but I'll let her come to you with that. But I think that's her idea around it. I mean, we've only had 2 meetings, so. And our next one's not until the beginning of April. Committee meetings, which anybody's welcome to come.
When's that? April 1st? I keep meaning to, but then I fall asleep.
That's what,
Snowstorm hit
it
the
happens.
last
I can get the date for you.
I have to give it back to him.
Which one did I put it in?
I'll take care of it from here. Yeah. Okay. I'll take care of it.
Sorry. I can't see my phone.
You can just email me.
Okay. I think it's April 4th, or no, sorry.
August?
April 11th.
Okay.
For the
no,
next
they have a
meeting.
The meeting of their event.
6 o'clock at the rec center.
Maybe that'll be an idea.
Yeah, that would be. It would be good to have one of us go
It
there.
would be great, yeah, because a
No.
lot of these questions we could have knocked out.
Right, even though we can't speak for the whole commission.
No,
still-
but we can, like, if it's an
Yeah.
absolute no, that won't work, but yeah.
Right, right.
I will try my best.
Excellent. Well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Or I'll make a motion to adjourn. How's that?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much for bearing through a long meeting. Next meeting is April 14th.
Got a new job in
That would be nice.
phone, and I